I would have more dialogue in those conversations, which would provide an opportunity for it to just fizzle out, as opposed to with what you guys and what Rob has really coached me on. Like, you're trying to do the bare minimum communication to get them to the next step.
You're an inspiration to our entire organization.
Welcome to the Gym Marketing Made Simple podcast. We're going to be talking the done-for-you marketing and sales strategies proven to work with boutique fitness gyms to increase quality lead flow and grow your revenue. Don't try to be a professional marketer and waste tons of money. Let the experts at Lasso do it for you. And now, here are your hosts, Blake Ruff and Sherman Merricks.
All right, guys, here we go. Another episode of Gym Marketing Made Simple. I'm Sherman. Of course, I'm here with my trusty sidekick, Blake. And we have a special guest with us, Thomas Conway of Project 13 Gyms. Thomas, thanks for taking the time to hang out with us, buddy. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. I appreciate you guys having me on. I love podcasting. We had one of our own back in the day that we did for about a year and a half. So we've taken a break from it, hope to reboot it in the future, but I always love podcasting. So I was really excited when you guys reached out to have me on. So I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, good, man. So for those that may not know you, our audience, tell them a little about you, the gyms, just sort of fill us in. I like for you guys to talk about, this is your chance to brag on yourself a little bit, tell us what's going on.
For sure. Yeah. So I've been working in fitness for now about 10 years. So I got my master's in 2014 and started training during that time as I was going through school. And pretty quickly, I had the desire to go more on the entrepreneurial route, open my own spot. And I knew that was kind of always going to eventually be the goal. But the path to get there was very, it's kind of all over the place. And I'm sure a lot of gym owners have experienced that. So I actually was pursuing a professional degree, and basically I moved out to the Bay Area, met what became my business partner. He was currently managing a gym there. And long story short with that, we were working there for about a year together. And then things just weren't jiving with the ownership and us. And so, they were basically saying the work that we had done to build it, which the owner was not located in the US, the work that we had done to build it was not what he wanted to continue to do. And we were like, that's weird, because the gym was currently like 100, maybe 120 members. And so we're like, that's weird because it seems to be working. So, so myself and the other guy, we decided to leave and start our own location. So it was, we tried to quickly turn that around because obviously inertia is a thing, and we knew if we took longer to open a spot that we would lose a bunch of people. But we ended up finding a location literally like 2 blocks away in San Francisco. It just all worked out really well. And this will tie into what we talk about more with the marketing piece, that experience of opening that location, I think kind of distorted my perspective as an owner of what it really requires to open a new spot in a new place, because we basically opened that gym with 50 people. We pulled 50 members over right away. And then over the first 2 months, there was another probably about 20 people that trickled over from that other spot because they had built relationships with us and they wanted to train with us. So that was kind of like, my consultant Stu, that you guys know, he'll talk about like the lightning in a bottle kind of situation where we didn't really have to do a lot of marketing because we had this pretty significant base to start with. So we're not going through the experience that a lot of gym owners may, and that I kind of have with my second spot, where you're in the red for a decent period of time. So, and then that was in 2018, that was the other piece of why that gym was successful. I think, as you guys probably know, and as everyone in the industry will talk about, there was a period of time where if you build it, they will come mentality kind of actually was a thing. With the rise of these like CrossFit style gyms. It was just very trendy. And so you could kind of build it, not spend a lot on marketing. And obviously the paid advertising realm was very different back then. And so we could pretty much just kind of organically and through referrals grow. And so, we did a little bit of marketing, and then probably after a year of being open there, that's when we started to explore paid marketing services. And we hired one agency that they were like, we'll do all these things for you. Like, we'll come in and we'll shoot a video for you and all this stuff, which was really cool. But the system itself that they were trying to have us like use was, it just wasn't very well directed, I guess, in terms of what they required us to do. And so that didn't really work out. So yeah. And then, I don't know, I probably went off on a tangent there in terms of, maybe I'm getting ahead of what we're wanting to talk about with the marketing stuff, but that's kind of my background, opened that spot. And then in 2022, we opened this spot here in Denver. Yeah. So, and I can dive more into my paid ad experiences if you want to jump to that next.
Yeah, man. So for you guys that are listening, you see we had a little technical difficulty, so it may go quiet for a second, but just stick with us.
Yeah, you guys froze for a second too, I think.
Yeah,
but now you're back.
Now you're back. All right.
So basically, you got two gyms, one in Denver, one in San Fran. Feel like totally different markets, totally different type of people, right?
Yeah,
probably
they're
like tech, and then like kind of like young in Denver.
There's some similarities, some differences. So the spot that I opened in Denver, I did try to find it in a neighborhood that would somewhat resemble the market that we got established in San Francisco, simply because like the example is, San Francisco, I mean, generally is going to be an urban market, and you'll have a lot of young professionals in tech and in finance and things like that. I didn't want to come to Denver and open in a market that I didn't know or understand very well. So, I mean, where I live in a suburb. It'd be sweet to not have a commute, but like I didn't want to open in a spot where I didn't have a lot of experience working with. I mean, I know I could do well, but in terms of just the culture and the atmosphere and the vibe, I knew how to create that really well for, again, that young professional demographic. And so that's where in Denver, I found a spot. If anyone's familiar with it, it's in the Golden Triangle. It's like pretty close to downtown Denver, but not quite in downtown Denver. So, and that's very similar to our market in San Francisco, where we're not like in the heart of downtown San Francisco, but we're more in an area that's like, I guess if you want to call it like one tier out from the downtown center, where you have a lot of young professionals that live. And there's a lot of residential buildings that, anywhere 150 to 300 unit residential buildings. So again, that's where there's similarities, definitely differences in terms of, I mean, San Francisco, we have of our members there, maybe like 1% of our membership owns a home in San Francisco. Whereas in Denver, there's probably maybe about half of our membership that owns a home. So for me, that's good, because it's like, cool, retention should be a little bit better here. In San Francisco, you have people constantly changing jobs, moving. Most people, the average lifespan in that city, in terms of people living there, is probably 5 to 7 years tops. People go there, work up the ladder at a tech company or a finance company, and then usually kind of like move to the surrounding areas or move to a different state entirely. So some similarities, but definitely some differences too. So yeah, it's been interesting to observe that as well.
Got it. Trim, go ahead. I know you got some questions.
Yeah. So, Thomas, tell me this, because I remember when we first talked to you, you know, you were sort of laid back, you know, you didn't get on the call like all excited, like, oh, I'm definitely want to do this. You were like, yeah, I'm thinking about doing it, which I love. I'm just like, all right, here we go. Let's see because I take that as a challenge, Tom.
Yep.
You know, I'm like, oh, I'm going to sign this dude up. He's acting like
Yep.
he's not 100% in from the beginning. But
Yeah.
I always say, you know, for me, that lets me know that you've done some other things in the past as far as marketing goes, and you probably didn't have a phenomenal experience in the past. So then, you know, you're just sort of like, all right, let me just see what these guys are about. So tell us a little bit about some of the past experiences you've had in comparison to like working with us.
So it froze for a second, but you were mentioning past experiences compared to like what I'm doing now. Is that kind of what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, I briefly mentioned that first agency that we kind of explored, and I don't even know if they were a gym specific agency. So that's the other thing too. Like when I had my business partner, like he's no longer with the company, but when I had my business partner, in terms of division of roles and responsibilities, he was more so the one that managed the marketing piece. And so he did run some ads like just himself. I think the most we ever spent was like $250 a month. And it would maybe it was getting like a slow trickle of just some awareness and stuff like that. But we didn't have a system to go with it. So, you know, we were doing that for a period of time. Then that's when we explored this agency. I think they were, again, non-gym specific. And they had all these other add-ons and things like that, but it just wasn't a well structured system. Then we pretty much did no advertising for like another year. And then after he had left, I started to explore other options. You know, we hired a guy that did more social media management, but that again was him just running awareness campaigns. Maybe it provided a little boost, but just there was no way to really track ROI specifically. And I would ask him all the time, like, okay, like you're running these awareness campaigns and stuff, but how are we supposed to know? And he was like, well, you're not. And I was like, all right, well, that's not very great. I want to know if this is working well or not. So kind of ended with him. And then when I opened here in Denver, I did hire I think just a solo person. I mean, I think he has his own organization now, but to run some pre-sale ads. And that was the first time I got exposed to Go High Level. You know, so as I started working with you guys, I told you that I had some experience with it, knew kind of how to use it. But I think, and you know, it worked a little bit for pre-sale, but I think there was a certain point where things just like pretty significantly like stopped, like fully just was getting not really leads that were responsive or engaging at all. And I tried to have conversations with him about, you know, hey, are there things that I'm not doing enough of that I could be doing more? And he never really gave me like very good specifics on what to do. So worked with him for about 3 to 4 months, and then stopped doing that because again, it was getting to the point where I was getting like zero signups per month from the work that he was doing. And so I was like, I just told him, I was like, I just cannot pay for this anymore. He was also recommending ad spend of $1,000 to $3,000. And I know that's something that when I told you guys, you were like jaw dropped to the floor because you're like, that's just unnecessary. Yeah. So, and then the last experience before I started working with you guys, a pretty big gym marketing agency that I won't mention, but they somehow got my info and started communicating with me. And I was like, all right, well, I could give it a try, and tried it for, you know, like less than a week. And it was very clear that it was an approach that was just very, very broad. And sure, maybe they would have whittled things down over time. But I mean, the first like 15 leads, 20 leads that I was getting, I was like, these are not people at all that I really want to market to. So, yeah, so then that's when I came to you guys. And the thing that really appealed to me for you guys was, one, the initial sales call was very non-pushy. Some of the other agency, well, the big agency that I can think of in particular, that I did work with a bit, they do this. Well, it's funny because they'll use the tactics that they then try to get you to employ on you. So like as you're on this sales call, they're using tactics that they will then tell you to do with clients where, it's kind of like a doom and gloom situation. Like if you don't use us, what's going to happen? Your business is going to close, this and that. And I'm just like, look, I know very well where the business is at and it absolutely needs to improve. Yes. So like you don't need to, and they'll even tie in things like, what are you going to like, what's going to happen to your family? Like what's going to, and I'm just like, this is like, I know where I'm at. And yes, like the business needs to grow, but like, you don't need to try to make me feel emotional about this decision. Right. So just I very unappreciate or do not appreciate that. And you guys were not like that at all. You were basically just like, this is what we do. This is what we would kind of start with. You asked like very, I guess, few questions about the business itself and where I'm at. Obviously understanding that I am seeking you guys out for help. So like the business does need help. But yeah, you weren't trying to paint this picture of like, if you don't use us, like you're going to be screwed. Right. And so that was great. Like, I really appreciated that and could feel that right away. And then the other thing that you guys talked about was, kind of like a more hands-on approach from you, in terms of like adjusting the ads, even something as simple as like, you're using our photos. You're like, sure, you can send us photos that you guys have, and we'll like test everything, and so you were very open to it. Felt like more of a collaboration as opposed to, especially the big gym agency or marketing agency that I explored. I asked about tweaking things and they were basically just like, no, like this is the way that we do it. That's it. And like the images that they were using were, I had former members, one that lives in New York, that was like messaging me because she was kind of helping us with ads. So she was seeing what was going in our ads manager and she's like, what the hell is this photo? Like, this is not you guys. Like, why, it was a picture of a dude squatting a shit ton of weight with like no shirt and a chest tattoo and chalk flying up in the background or some and I'm like our gym is mostly gym. Yeah, I'm just like, our gym is mostly ladies. Like, you think that like that's not who we want to market to. So yeah, so you guys, again, just more of a collaborative experience is what I felt right from the get-go, and that's ultimately why I decided to move forward with you guys.
Yeah, no. So, I think some of these other agencies, especially some of the big ones, they think it's a great way to launch your gym, and that's like for us, I always say that we want like we're going to talk about some of the success you had working with us. Like, it is always great for someone to get on board with us and basically have instant success, right? Like, we love that, like we really do. However, a bigger testimony for us is someone that say they start with us in January and they're doing, I'm just making numbers up, they're doing 20 grand. And then 12, 18 months later, now they're doing 35, 40 grand, right?
Yeah.
That's a huge testimony for us because we know that if they grow it month over month, a little bit slowly, those people, they're going to be able to sustain that, as opposed to, as we've all seen. I had my gyms, I used some of those companies in the past before I was, in the space. Yeah, they may get me 30 people in 1 month, but month 3, I'm losing 38 people because I'm losing 25 are the ones that came. Then I've pissed off some long-term members because they can't get into class, and class is too crowded. And then I've lost a coach because I burnt them out because I had to open up all these extra class. It's just like, for us, we want that. We definitely want that sustainable, slower growth.
And I think another thing too, Sherman, not to interrupt, is, a lot of these companies are like, oh, you just got to run ads that say free on them. Because really, all these companies, all they care about is leads, right? And like we told you on day one, and we say it all the time on every single call, is like, I do not care how many leads you get. I care about how many signups. Because honestly, if I get you 1,000 leads and only one sign up, that's way more work on you than it would be to get 20 leads and one sign up, right?
Yeah.
And not to say like we expect our clients to get one sign up. Like in your case, and I think, a direction really to talk about is like, one thing we always do with all our clients, and you should do, I'm not saying this specific to like what we do, but what you should do in general with your marketing is look back over the last 4 to 6 months and say, how many did I average get on signups before marketing or even with a current marketing company, right? So know what's the average, right? Like, and yes, you'll have peaks and valleys, but overall, over 6 months, you'll have pretty good data. And something amazing with you, and we talked about it because, we talk about this all the time, that like not every lead is going to take, the direct path. Like right now I'm looking at this like travel bag for like a weekend trip, and like the bag like unzips, you can put like suits in it and zip it up. Like it looks amazing, right? I saw it 2 weeks ago. I still haven't bought it. Right.
Yeah.
But it's saved on, I text it to myself and I'll go back and buy it. Right. We talked about that path that people take, but something interesting for you is like in 40 days, you essentially signed up more people than you did in 4 months.
Yeah. 100%.
And that's like bonkers to me, and just proof that like, if you're not getting out there in front of people, you're only going to reach the people that are following you, right? On organic and things like that. So I guess, what have you noticed? And like, we haven't talked about this at all, but like, what do you notice, like website traffic, like, and really what's the selling process and how different it is with paid marketing versus like organic? Because everybody gets on a call and they're like, I'm the best seller in the world. And like, you are really good at selling and you've done a great job with calls and things like that. But everybody's like, oh, I can sell anybody. And then all of a sudden they get paid marketing and they're like, nobody wants to sign up. We're like, well, yeah, you're really bad at sales.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I think it's, that's interesting because, well, I think part of getting onboarded with you guys was it helped me become a better salesperson. That's another reason that I chose you guys, is because you guys did tell me that, I'd be working with a sales coach. And I always, have felt that I'm like pretty okay at sales. And, you'll hear, I don't know if maybe I've heard you guys talk about this, but like, I think Stu has as well. I'm the owner. So when I'm in there coaching a class, I'm very passionate about it. And so I can people can see that, and that can help me with a sale. Doesn't necessarily mean like I'm a good salesperson, but so that was one thing. You guys outlined a more specific and clear sales process, and because I felt on those early calls that we had that I trusted you guys, and you guys also have your own gyms, and so and Rob has his down in Orlando, and you guys have explained to me what works well for you guys. And so I told myself, well, I'm going to do like every single thing that they say. And we even in our early calls, you kind of went through some example messages of like, okay, this is what you cannot be doing, like having these messages not responded to for like a day or two or whatever. And so that was one thing, is I was like, I'm going to do exactly what these guys say. And I mean, the bottom line is it works. In terms of like my process with organic people before, it was not good. And I would even say that I now approach organic leads differently because of the work that I've done with you. So, now so like in the past, it was kind of quite honestly, I like wasn't like really selling very well. They would a new person would come in, and just in terms of like the language that's used in the conversations, and just in terms of like follow-ups, right? Because when we were not doing paid marketing with anybody, but also obviously not with you, we didn't have a CRM tool. So I would have to do all this manually, and, I mean, things slip, right? So, and having it also in its own CRM tool makes it much easier. So I would say, like, before working with you guys, the organic people would come in and I'd give them a good experience, but I wouldn't maybe necessarily directly have that conversation about membership, right? And like specifically asking for the business. I'd maybe be like, here's our membership options. And I guess use maybe more like passive language of like, what one sounds good to you, or like stuff like that, instead of being like, what one do you want to sign up for? Like, and like, when are you coming back next? Like, basically just having more direct language with people. So yeah. And then in terms of the sales process, now that I'm working with you guys, it's very much like what you guys outlined for me.
Yeah.
Get them, and like, it's as simple as, if a lead comes in and they respond to that first automated message of, it's like, is this so-and-so? This is Thomas from Project 13 Gyms. If they're like, yes, then, I mean, there's one that goes out like right after that. Like, are you looking for one-on-one or group? Which that's great, because that's like a normal question to ask next. And then when they respond to that, then it's like, I'm like, the first thing I'll just say is, cool, like, when can you talk for 10 minutes on the phone today or tomorrow? And so it's being very direct. Whereas I think in the past, like, and I guess using other paid ad services in the past, where I didn't get sales coaching, and the person that was doing my marketing, I mean, again, I don't know why they didn't tell me to do more stuff like this, if they're a professional in this marketing field. But like, I would have more dialogue in those conversations, which would provide an opportunity for it to just fizzle out, as opposed to with what you guys and what Rob has really coached me on. Like, you're trying to do the bare minimum communication to get them to the next step. So for that, the text messaging, it's like, don't get into the nuance of, what are you looking for? And here's what we do. And like all this stuff. It's like, let's do a call. Right. And then get them on that call. And then, you guys have the script that Rob has coached me through for the calls. And that's the same thing. It's like, get like very basic information about them, what they're looking for, what their goals are, so that you can then use that in conversations in the future. But that call should not be drug out. Like, and again, previous marketing experiences, I made that mistake where I'd have a 30-minute call with somebody, and then if they don't sign up, you're like pretty pissed, because you're like, well, that was just a waste of fucking time, So it's like, and it's really, Rob has done a really great job in terms of essentially empowering me, or helping me understand that I should feel empowered, because what we provide is valuable. And because also too, like, I have confidence in the system that you guys have laid out for me. I can very easily go through a call, and if I start chatting with this person in the first 3 minutes and like, there's not a fit, like, the emotion is removed from it. I'm just like, all right, this person's not a fit. I'm just going to like end the call with them. Sure, I'll maybe try to book them, but like, I'm not like, I'll go through that process and then just move on to the next one. Right. And that's what Rob has always said and told me, that's been very helpful, is just like, on to the next. Don't let these people consume your time. And there's the phrase that the maybes will drive you crazy. And there's nothing more true than that. And so, now I'm to the point where, like, if someone, again, there's the question on the discovery call where it's like, are you ready to start this right now? And if they're like, I had one early on that was like, well, maybe in April, like, this was back in early March. And I'm like, okay, well, it sounds like you're not ready. So I can reach back out to you. And she was like, oh, but can you just schedule something now for April 1st?
No.
And I was like, no, I like, and so it's just like, being very direct with people is actually, I think they appreciate it. And then also too, it kind of shows them that, like, look, I want you to be a member. I want you to come, and I want to help you with your goals. But like, at the same time, like, we got other people to service. And so I'm not going to be desperate for you. And it actually makes the sales process easier. So, yeah.
Yeah. I think that, like you said, a couple of things. One is, like we always tell people, of course, we run a for-profit business, right? Like we get that, right? Like this is a for-profit business. We charge a premium for our services
Yeah.
because we think we're great at what we do. However, the thing for us, our goal isn't to really have 1,000 gyms, right? Like
Right.
that's not really
Right.
us. Like we want to be smaller, more boutique, where we get to work with owners like yourself. And when we do that, and since the company's set up that way from the beginning, we want nothing more than each and every one of our clients to be successful as you're having success, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like for us, it makes no sense for us to have 50% of our clients crushing it, 50% of them we're just collecting dues from them for the next X amount of
Right.
months because they signed up for a some type of commitment. So
Right.
I think I believe that's one of the things that when people get on a call with us, they're sort of taken aback by how laid back we are, right? Like, yes, we're selling, like of course we are. We want you trying to sign people up, but like we've even had people that we say, hey, like I don't think we don't think this is a good deal for you at our price point with your revenue. If this thing doesn't hit a home run in 2 days, like this is going to hurt your business more than it's going to help, right?
Yeah.
And we just can't guarantee that. So I think that you saying that what you have, listening to everything that we say, like this is obviously we want to take a little credit for that. This is the reason you're having success, right? We want nothing more than our clients to have success, guys. So we're giving you best practices, what we know works. We're putting out the photos, the copy that we know works, right? We spend $60,000 a month testing Facebook ads. So we know what works and we know what works quickly. So we're giving you guys all the best to get the leads in. So Thomas, just tell us about some of the success you've had. Like, you share as much or as little as you want as far as the numbers. Let's talk about some of the success you've had from working with us for the while you've been with us.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, and I guess to provide some context, like we launched ads March 1st of, just whatever, 2 months ago. And and I mean, since then I've essentially signed up, I've had, so actually I was looking through these numbers just before getting on this. So there's been like 20 total signups in that period of time, 19 to 20. Actually 20 exactly. So like comparing that, this is something that you guys, I think is another good thing that you guys do. We sat down and you had me fill out the starting metrics on the growth scorecard. And, I get why you guys do that. And I appreciate it because it's objective. It's just like, this is where we're at. Again, back to the whole, like, you guys are not trying to paint this doom and gloom picture, but you're just being objective and real. So before working with you guys, I was averaging like 2.5, 3 signups a month. My best month ever in Denver was 7 people, and that was back in July. Again, not really, doing paid ads on and off, but nothing really effective or consistent. So first month, March, we had 9 signups. So that, right off the bat, I was like, this is great. It covered the cost of working with you guys, and then some, like a little bit more. And so I was like, okay, this is definitely different. I could feel very early on. And then again, having the interactions with Rob every couple weeks was also providing additional reassurance that like you guys are continuing to work on me and with me, and developing this process and building it out. Then April, we actually ended with 11 signups. And so, that was great as well. And yeah, I mean, I think that in terms of other numbers, like I was looking at this as well. So I've essentially generated almost like $200 to $2,500 in new revenue each month. And that's just from first month dues, right?
Correct.
So another thing you guys talk about too is like, if you have a system, or if your gym has, some sort of like minimum commitment, which that's something that we've shifted to as well, like minimum 12 weeks or 90 days or whatever, that money just compounds over the months that those people stay. And then we're also seeing like, I mean, I've only been focusing on like client acquisition outside of, so in terms of additional organic content, we basically are doing none right now. And I know that if we could install that as well with what you guys are doing, like it would just compound, right? But right now I'm a one-man show here. And so the thing that it has the highest return clearly is working with you guys and doing the paid ads and focusing on following up with client or following up with leads, setting up calls, setting up in-person intros, all that stuff. But we have seen additional just the people that, like Blake, you were talking about, that saw the ads and didn't click on it, so didn't become a lead and go high level, but came in on their own, right? Or went to my website and purchased a 2-for-1 or a 1-week trial and then signed up for a membership. So, between those two, it's been like 13 that I can directly tie to the work with you guys. Which again, comparing it to what I was doing, I mean, it's huge, right? So, and that's the other thing that Rob talked about as well. And I mean, the compound effect. There's people that are now in the pipeline that maybe haven't taken action yet, but like Rob said, at this point, he gets like a couple people per month that end up converting, that have been in go high level or been in the pipeline for months, that just haven't taken any action. They just keep receiving the automated messages and emails, and they finally get one that they're just like, I'm gonna do it. So given the early success and now me understanding the process that you guys have laid out for me, and that it does just work. Like it's that simple. Just do do the follow-ups, like do the calls, follow the script. And obviously I've kind of adjusted the script to fit me a little bit more.
To fit you.
And there's nothing, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it follows the same general approach. And I mean, it'll work. And so it ebbs and flows. Like, March was like, early on was like drinking out of a fire hose in a sense, and then it's kind of like ebbed and flowed since then. But, the fact that I still feel from you guys and from Rob that like, we're able to have this back and forth dialogue, and you guys are able to be like, what are you seeing? What am I seeing in terms of the calls that I have? Is there a particular problem that I'm experiencing? And then you guys will help me, or in a lot of cases with the sales, Rob will help me troubleshoot that and try to find a solution, which is again, another thing that with other agencies that I've worked with, that was pretty non-existent. It was just like, keep following the thing and we'll keep putting out our general ass ads and you'll get fucking randos. Sorry. I don't know.
Yeah, I think, no, you're good. I think one thing, you're good, man. I think one thing working with you is that like Project 13 isn't like a normal gym, right? So one of the big things we had to do is like, hey man, I want to use your own images. Same thing we do with like Metabolic, right? It's got to be on brand with that. A lot of like CrossFit gyms, all CrossFit gyms, like no offense, kind of look the same on the inside. Yeah. There's a big rig. They do all this stuff. It's kind of all the same stuff, right? It's more so like, hey, let's use what works. In your case, it's more like, hey, let's try some of ours that don't look like that in the background, but like, let's use yours because we want it to be them not to come in and be like, where's the rig or things like that, right? So I think being on brand, knowing your brand and knowing that like, hey, I am different is important. But the gist of it all, and I think the main thing for people to get is two things that you said, and one being that like stop getting freaking emotional about people that don't want to sign up. Just move on to the next one, right? Like these gym owners get so butthurt when like one person's like, they said stop and leave me alone. I'm bothering them too much. I want to change all my automation. I was like, no, that person just didn't want to sign up to your gym. Just move on to the next one. You're not going to hit a home run every time. You're just not. But you might later on for 8 to 11 months, like I could go down a path of like, there's this big thing right now of like putting your prices on the website. Well, if you never get that lead, you'll never get a chance to sign them up 8 months down the road. Right. And and they're just going to look at Project 13. They're going to look at Orange Theory. They're going to look at F45. And the only thing they're going to make their decision on is price. They're not going to get on a phone with you and you're like, this is why Project 13 is a great fit for you compared to the other gyms, right? All you're talking about is price then at that point. But like going back to what you're saying too, is that like, I think the thing that worked cohesive with us is that you're really good on the phone. And so you added that process to pre-qualify them to be like, hey, you're a good fit or not. And like being upfront, like, hey, we may not be the best fit for you, honestly. Like, and rather than we get on so many gyms and they're still doing like month to month stuff. And it's like, man, those people are going to quit in an instant. Like doing a longer commitment is going to help your ROI. And also like, we always say, man, I mean, read Atomic Habits, all this stuff. It takes 100 days for somebody to make a habit. That's the easiest way to sell it, right? And so in your market, Denver is not an easy market to like run ads. It's tough. It's like, something like San Francisco or Chicago. There's just so much competition, right? People always think, oh, the bigger city, I got more people. It'll be easy to run ads. It's actually the opposite because everybody knows they have to, right? To get that market. So I think, just hearing your success for people that are in larger markets, those big, those bigger cities, Dallas, Houston or Chicago or wherever it may be, it can still work. But you got to realize you got to even be better than sales than people in the super local markets because they just have more choices. It's like when you have more choices, you have to be better because the minute you're not good, they got 10 other places to choose from, right? And so I think that's a huge thing. And I think, one thing I commend you on really well is that like you're good on the phone, you get people. I think that's like just looking through your CRM, like quick responses, right? Like, I was looking at somebody's CRM the other day. She hasn't got back to people in 4 hours. And I was like, what are you doing? They've called 3 other people by then, right? So.
Yeah, I think, before we get out of here, my last little bit is, Thomas, here's the thing. Everyone talks about, hey, they want success when they sign up with us. They want all of these, members and stuff, and we want to give it to them. But, like you sort of breezed over it. But yes, you signed up 20 members in 2 months, way more than your normal. So I know for you, that's more work, right? It's more work. Guys that are listening to this, when you work with us, if you have success, it is going to be more work. Yes, you're going to make more money. Yes, you're going to change more lives, but it is more work. And I think that sometimes, people just think like, okay, they're going to turn on these ads. They're going to sign up all these people. It's going to be easy peasy. They're going to do all the work. But like, we're going to do as much as we can. But onboarding people, having new folks in the gym, especially a decent amount, like it does require more bandwidth from the owners as well. So, for you guys that are thinking about working with us, be prepared for that.
And that is the good approach, or the good thing with you guys and the approach that you take is, and another thing that I wanted to mention as well, like you guys did not do the whole, like, we'll get you 30 signups in 30 days, like some other, the big agency that I'm thinking of, when they're trying to get you signed up, they'll share with you some videos and testimonials of these like very few people that they worked with, and it's like X person made 90,000 in revenue in 2 months or whatever, and it's like they are creating this image that is like the outliers that they work with, that maybe sure that did happen to, but like you mentioned as well. And when I came to you guys, I basically was like, I would be fine if we can just continuously hit like 10 people per month, like on a long enough timeline, like I'm good. If retention is just where it should be, we'll be fine. We'll be totally fine. So I think, after having those experiences of interacting with those agencies that were like, we can get you just a shit ton of leads and members in a short period of time. And then one, realizing that's not the average. And two, like you guys have said, like, and especially with me being the only person, I probably wouldn't be able to take on 30 people in a month. Like, if I did, I would run into that situation like Sherman mentioned of some members would be like not happy, and then a lot of those 30 would probably drop off like the next month or whatever. And so I think that's, for gym owners, like that's what I always think is like, take a step back approach and just like kind of zoom out for a second and just understand where you need to go. Yes. But also understand that like, and every situation is different, right? That consistent growth over time is really, I think just the best way to go, because manageable for you and your staff, and also just sustainable.
Yeah, no, I get it. Well, Thomas, we're gonna get out of here, man. Thank you
Cool.
very much. Guys, if you listen to this podcast, Thomas, give me your website. What's your website?
project13gyms.com.
Thomas really has a super cool concept. I always have mad respect for anyone that can have 2 gyms, let alone 2 gyms in different towns.
Areas.
And I don't mean 2 different towns like,
not even
I got
close.
one here, then I got another one 15 minutes down the road. No, we're talking about Denver and San Francisco, right? Like Thomas couldn't drive to his gym in 3 hours if he needed to. Like, there's nothing he can do. So really check out his gym. You guys reach out to Thomas. When you get to the website, you'll better get in contact with him. But seriously, Thomas, thank you for your time today, buddy. It's been great. I'm excited to keep working with you. Hopefully we can keep crushing and have you on in like 10 months where you've crushed it even more. So thanks for hanging out. Thanks for hanging out with us, man.
Absolutely. And I appreciate all you guys are doing. And I have, a lot of confidence in what we've built and what will continue to grow. And I was thinking that same thing. We should plan to talk a year from now, and we'll be happy to share the experience that I've continued to have with you guys.
We'll definitely do that.
Yeah. Awesome. I appreciate you guys.
All right, man. All right, guys. Well, as usual, tell a friend to tune in, and we will chat with you guys next week. All right.
Yeah. Thank you for listening to the Gym Marketing Made Simple podcast with Blake Ruff and Sherman Merricks. We hope you enjoy. We believe marketing should increase revenue and not waste money. So book your free call today. Head on over to lassoframework.com. That's lassoframework.com and find the right words, get more customers, and increase your revenue. We'll see you here next time.